and welcome. Hi.
Hello.
Are you going to be able to keep it together?
Yeah, no, I'm good for the next 15 to 20 minutes.
If anybody hears Buzz exclaim in pain, that is his back going out on him, and you get a front row seat.
I got a sore muscle, a pulled muscle. I don't know.
Maybe a pinched nerve.
It could be a pinched nerve, but it's really annoying.
Did you see Derek Terry, one of our listeners, wrote into an email that said,
quit sitting on your fat wallet that's got all them business cards in it.
Yeah. Actually, they say that, that could affect your sciatica.
I never carry my wallet in my back pocket. I always carry it in my front pocket. Yeah.
Good to know. All right, well, let's get through this after Buzz so you can make sure you take care of that back. All right, on today
I still got a full day's work ahead.
I foresee you getting back on that couch in a little bit too.
God, that sounds so tempting.
I know.
Because I'm not in pain when I'm on that couch.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the AfterBuzz podcast. My name is Nico Adjimin, your host of the AfterBuzz, and of course with me is Buzz Adams.
Hello.
Today we're going to be doing another history bit of podcasting. Today specifically, the ancient Sumerians and the original animal walks into a bar joke. They have found...
Let me guess it. Horse walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Why the long face?"
Interestingly enough, the jokes don't make that much sense, especially when they're translated into English, and we have no idea what...
But you're wondering, what did a joke sound like back in ancient Sumerian times?
Very weird that you bring that up.
There's one that I
similar.
know.
You do?
Yeah. One thing that has never happened since time immemorial. A young wife sat on her husband's lap and didn't fart.
Did you
That's
look
like
at
one of the oldest jokes. I don't know.
Did you look this up right now?
No.
Come on. Don't lie to me.
No,
Did you just Google this right before we got on?
Promise. I knew this from before.
How did you know that?
Well, that's not an animal walks into a bar joke.
No,
I'm
but
really dying to hear that one.
No, but it is one of the things that I was going to bring up.
One of the oldest jokes that was in writing is like, I don't know, like 2,500 BC, something like that?
About
3,500 BC. So I was 1,000 years too modern, yeah.
All right, so let's get into it real quick. The ancient Sumerians were the people who inhabited the region of Sumer, what would today be Iraq or around Iraq, and it's
also sometimes called the Levant.
No, the Levant is actually Palestine and Jerusalem.
Oh, okay,
you knew that, right?
No, I didn't know. Oh. I thought it was all kind of.
No, it's a little separate. Anyways, so the Sumerians are called that because we actually call their language Sumerian. We don't know what they called themselves or where they would say they're from. I think technically they would say they're Urukians or from Uruk, the city that they seem to inhabit.
Anyway, I am Gozar the Gozarian. That's what they would call themselves.
So we have these clay tablets of their writing, some of the first writing ever to be created or instituted.
Cuneiform?
Cuneiform. And what they are is a lot of receipts. There's a lot of accounting of things.
Yeah, so, and I from wherever I get my well of knowledge, I know this. You'd think the first things ever written down were a beautiful poem or a religious prayer or something. No, it's all bookkeeping, accounting, and excuses for being late for work.
Yes.
Things that were kept record.
Yes, that is exactly correct. And you're right. And actually, you're even right before about when you said how old it goes. One of the oldest recorded jokes is a Sumerian proverb from 1900 BC. Something which has never occurred since time immemorial. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap.
That is legitimately like the oldest joke that anybody knows about, right?
Yes, that we have written. Then there's some other one. The one who has a broken neck is the one who has a heartache.
I don't get that at all.
I don't understand too much what that means at all, yeah. In a city without dogs, the fox is the overseer. If a man has a sack of barley...
These are jokes again, right?
Or proverbs. Some of them are just proverbs.
All right.
If a man has a sack of barley, can he laugh with a slave girl?
If a man has a sack of barley, can he laugh with a slave girl?
Right.
Okay.
This could be about the implication of wealth over changing social behavior. Like having a bag of barley would make you rich. And would you be willing to share a laugh with a slave girl? Right. See, comedy, and this is what I think is so fascinating, interesting about this, is humor and comedy comes from a lot of social context and a lot of knowing the unwritten language or rules behind your common society. That's why learning humor or jokes is either the last thing or something that you don't ever learn when you learn a new language. Like if you're learning a new language, humor is generally based on idioms and sayings. And so,
I don't know. Every time I speak Spanish, people laugh, so I must be doing something right.
All right, but here is the animal joke that I thought was
so this is an animal walks into a bar. I bet it was a tavern.
Definitely a tavern. Oh, definitely a tavern.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely, definitely a tavern. And really, taverns were like a big part of Sumerian society, especially beer, which I'm going to get into next. A dog entered a tavern and said, "I can't see a thing. I'll open this one."
What?
I don't know, dude.
Wait. A dog walks into a bar. It says, "I can't see anything. I'll open this one." That's the joke?
That's the joke.
Do any historians have theories as to what this joke meant?
It could be playing on the absurdity of a dog speaking and making a decision as if it were human. So here's the other thing. So the book I'm reading, and I want to shout it out because it's fascinating. It's called A Short History of Drunkenness by Mark Forsyth. And he gets really into the description of what a tavern would have been like at that time, because it would have been in the city square. You know, it would have been a big part of the society. You would have had women wearing like very little clothing out front, which were the prostitutes, and they would have been hanging around in the front. And usually they would be wearing pearls.
Boy, ancient Sumer sounds a lot more fun than modern day Sumer.
I know, kind of weird.
It's like I don't think you get alcohol, and prostitution's probably frowned upon now, right?
Right. You walk into the tavern, and it would be very, very dark. Like they just didn't have great lighting back then, but you'd get used to it.
Well, natural light,
right?
You know, or candles, I guess.
It would smell awful and be covered in flies because a lot of the time they would brew in-house, and they would have they used troughs. Different troughs for brewing and then filtering out.
This book is all about the history of beer or
drunkenness. And it goes...
there's a lot of drunkenness in the Bible. I mean, usually not as a good thing, but like people in the Old Testament and some in the New Testament are getting drunk all the time.
Yeah,
but we're talking about 2,000 years before.
Before that,
well, the Old Testament might have gone back 1,000, 1,200 years.
Right. And I find that even more interesting too, because like the Great Pyramid they get into these Egyptian drinking rituals, insane. They have an entire festival.
Did they have a strikeout?
Similar in the sense that drinking was to get drunk. Like you wanted to get as insanely drunk as possible. And they would have attendants who, if you threw up or did this, they would make sure you got another glass right afterwards and keep you upright. And then
and this is Sumer or Egypt?
This is Egypt. And I'm sorry to be moving so fast in between because I do want to make sure we get to the Sumer drinking stuff. But yeah, they would have this festival in Egypt where then there would be a big orgy, just a gigantic orgy. Some
people might associate an orgy with the Romans, but do you remember the great HBO series Rome?
Yeah.
Whenever the Romans go to Egypt to meet Cleopatra, they're disgusted by the debauchery and libidinous nature of the Egyptians.
Egyptians were very, very much worshipped sex almost. Like it was a part of their religion and culture, to the point where at this festival, this orgy festival of drunkenness, because then people would just be passed out. Like that's how the night ends. And this is a festival for the city. If you were born or conceived on that night, generally, and you didn't know who your father was.
Probably had fetal alcohol syndrome.
You probably had that, but you also would brag about.
So many people were. You're like, I'm I'm the bastard son of 1,000 bastards.
They would go into the priesthood a lot of times. Like, I was conceived at the festival. Like, I was blessed by the gods.
Wow.
Isn't that kind of crazy? Okay, so back to Sumer. Not only do we have those jokes that I just mentioned, but they even love drinking songs. They had drinking songs. And I'm going to read to you.
You know, the theme for the national anthem was originally an old drinking song.
Yeah, English one though, right? Yeah. Do you know the name of the English song?
To Anacreon in Heaven.
Yes.
Not heaven, Hedden.
Hedden.
HEV apostrophe N. If anybody wants to look it up, they took that tune. That's the tune to the Star Spangled Banner.
Okay, so Sumerians took beer so seriously that that's what their drinking songs were about, and generally how they made it. And everything had specific names. Like,
I can actually recite one of the earliest Sumerian drinking songs.
Okay.
It's all about beer. Are you ready? And this is, of course, translated into English so you can understand. 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer.
Right.
Take one down, pass it around, 98 bottles of beer on the wall.
Okay, so anyways, this is one version of a drinking song with some translation to it, okay? The Gakul Vat, the Gakul Vat, the Gakul Vat, the Lamsura Vat. The Gakul Vat, which puts us in a happy mood. The Lamsara Vat, which makes the heart rejoice.
Oh, this is translated into English. I thought the whole thing was some kind of ancient gobbledygook.
The Ugurbal jar, glory of the house. The Kakub jar, filled with beer. The Amam jar, which carries the beer from the Lamsare Vat.
I don't know all these terms that are in different language. I'm interested to know what that is. What is the Ugar ball?
So they would have a vat at the beginning of this process, put into another vat, then they would take this thing and then use this to carry it from there to the table. It's this whole thing. But I actually have another, not that same drinking song, but there is a duo or trio of people on YouTube. This is Lorna Govier.
Are you going to play it?
I'm going to play it. It's a duet of Sumerian drinking song.
Played on authentic to the era instruments?
It's on a... Oh, it is the same one.
But they don't know if that was the inflection or the tune.
There is no arrangement of music.
They didn't have any musical notation on it.
4,000 years before Christ. You know what? Isn't that amazing that Cleopatra, okay, to us is ancient, right?
Sure.
2,000 years. But the Great Pyramids of Giza were built 3,000 years before her.
Right. They were already ancient by the time of Caesar and Cleopatra. And Mark Antony. So
they're super ancient to us. I just think it's crazy. Like, that's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to talk about in today's episode.
The history of beer.
The history of beer. Check it out. Sorry. Then there was this other thing. Part
2. The first designated driver. Yakub, bring the camel around back.
There's actually another drinking song. It's called the Hymn to Ninkasi. Ninkasi was the Sumerian god of beer. And the song actually is a recipe for beer. Like, it gives the kind of the ingredients and like in what order to use them.
Are we going to get to hear this one?
No, we aren't going to get to hear this one. But there is a guy on YouTube that tried to brew
to make that beer,
and he said it's super hard. It would be like somebody trying to make a cake from listening to Patty Cake. Like, you roll it and then you bake it and put a bee on it.
Put a bee on it
or something. I don't know.
Patty Cake, bake it, cake as fast as you can. Roll them up, throw them in the pan. Yeah, I don't remember.
But that's what he's basically trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Did he get anything that was potable?
Yes, and so with that, and an actual archaeologist who specializes in these things, and going through other Sumerian receipts, like they actually knew maybe what was the amounts of the ingredients they would need by barley and stuff, because they have a receipt was like this many grams of barley, this type of this barley.
If I had to take a guess, I would say, like, to our modern taste buds, whatever they came up with was probably very bitter in comparison.
They enjoyed it very sweet.
Oh, so they liked
adding extra sweet on top. Like they call some wines sweet wines and this and that. The beer probably got up to about 5% alcohol. And some might have even had close to none. Just depends on what. But anyways, the resulting creation is this cloudy sediment. It's like full of sediment at the top, and they give you a straw, and you have to drink the beer.
Wait. You're telling me that in ancient Sumer, they had mastered straw technology?
Reeds. That's all you'd need.
Oh, right. I was just thinking, where would they get the
plastic?
Right. You could find like a little bamboo shoot. I mean, whatever's.
It's not going to be a crazy straw or a twisty one. Yeah.
They did away with the straws because a lot of the turtles in the Nile were being choked by the straws.
There's a lot of pictograms of them actually showing the drink
straw?
with the straw in them. Yeah.
Oh, it must look like a crazy ancient milk shop.
Milkshake
shop.
It does. And the reason you would use a straw,
I think of a straw as like a super modern implement.
I guess if you never really thought about it, yeah, right. But it's just a tube. You can find tubes, I'm sure. There's so much sediment. That's how you would drink it. Is you would drink from the bottom, basically,
because the sediment was all on top.
On top, right?
I thought sediment was usually on the bottom of things.
Not the sediment that. Yeah, there's a difference between the sediment that settles and what would you call the flotsam? I think it'd be flotsam, I guess. Whatever floats to the top, the gross stuff at the top.
What would that have been? That must have been unpleasant to drink.
Yes, that would have been like some sticks and maybe some.
Oh, maybe like sticks and little particles.
Right.
You ever see anybody who loves ultra pulpy orange juice?
I don't mind it.
You do?
I don't mind it, yeah.
You don't mind it?
No.
Ugh. I'm imagining it being something like drinking pulpy.
Probably would have been.
You know, just kind of. I don't like stuff floating in my drink. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't
generally. Either. Maybe an olive and a martini, but that's it.
Do you like the boba?
No.
Really?
For the same reason I don't like the idea of drinking something that has chunks or particles in it.
It doesn't seem to go. Drinks should be smooth.
It has a texture that's pukey is the only way I can describe it. You know what I mean? I don't like oatmeal for the same reason.
Okay.
The texture. It's just
maybe that's a taste thing. You know what's hilarious too? So I did bring up your daughter on today's episode because I was trying to explain why you are going senile and stuff, and you accused me of things.
You mean on today's regular show?
Today's regular show, right? Yeah. So when I did take her to the workshop that I was producing, it's a comedy workshop or improv comedy. I also catered it. I got some drinks and sandwiches, things like that. But I got Dr. Pepper, and I got it just for her when I was getting all the ingredients. And I told when she was like, "Man, there's only Diet Coke in here," I was like, "No, there's Dr. Pepper." She's like, "Where?" Yeah. And I was like, "At the bottom, you got to find it. I got it just for you." And she's like, "You got it just for me?" Well, I was like, "I knew you like it. I mean, I had a couple options." But then
we are like father, like daughter when it comes to Dr. Pepper.
Then when I was taking her and her friend home, she didn't eat pretty much all day.
She didn't eat the sandwich?
No.
Yeah.
And I knew she was hungry.
She's got a lot of self-imposed dietary restrictions.
Right. And I was like, I just automatically headed to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And she didn't even know. And when she sees the sign, she goes, "Oh, fuck yeah."
My daughter says, "Oh, fuck yeah," when she sees you're going to...
Yeah. Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah, that sounds like her.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, she is developing a sense... And the whole time, she was like...
Funny, good sense of humor.
Yeah,
right?
Super funny. And, really, really
deadpan.
funny.
Very dry.
Very dry deadpan.
Sense of humor, that kid.
Yeah, very dry, which... I enjoy because Bob Newhart's one of my favorite stand-up comedians.
I often think of my daughter as the new Bob Newhart.
The new Bob Newhart. Nice. Let us know what you thought of Sumerian beer. If you have any additions or retractions we need to make. Should I make this like a running series? Like take Sumerian or Egyptian stories?
Oh, I don't think you need to limit yourself to any period in time. I don't think they all need to be history unless we're a history
more
podcast.
Orgies. I think more orgies, right? The history of orgies.
God, I'd be very uncomfortable at an ancient Sumerian orgy.
Oh, I know.
Probably nobody shaved.
Oh, I know.
Maybe they did.
Do you know
I
what?
don't speak the language.
What apparently they called the guys going from girl to girl would be called traveling the marshes.
Ew. It's not just the frog; it's the whole swamp.
Is it weird that I thought of a swamp too? Like I thought of like, oh, murky, swampy.
Yeah, kind of.
It probably was like that. All right, thanks for listening to the AfterBuzz podcast. We'll check you out next time.